राना ने कहा कि प्रेस के फ्रीडम पे अटैक हो रहा है, मतलब बहुत ज्यादा ही अटैक है।
Indian state treating its journalists as terrorists, especially with the raids on various media houses. So in that situation, as a journalist who herself is a critic of the government, who is a woman and a Muslim, I think it has never been a more difficult time to be a journalist who is talking about the oppressed, the marginalized, the persecuted in India.
तो इस पे आपके क्या थॉट्स हैं?
यार आपने वो देखा 2-3 दिन पहले एक और कुछ अब तो मतलब इंडियंस हैव बिकम सो सेल्फ अश्योर्ड कि दे आर लाफिंग एट इट, दे प्लेस्ड अस बिहाइंड अफगानिस्तान। आई वाज लाइक यू नो
नमस्ते, स्वागत है आपका इंडिया दिस वीक के एक नए एपिसोड में। और आज हम बात करने जा रहे हैं बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट सब्जेक्ट पे, जो कि राना अय्यूब के ऊपर है। एंड रिसेंटली हमें पता है कि राना अय्यूब ने यूएन का मंच इस्तेमाल करके फिर से एक बार प्रोपेगेंडा किया है, जिसके लिए वो फेमस है। एंड हमें लगता है एज ए इंडियन सिटीजन वी नीड टू address that entire situation and discuss about it. So आज हम वही करने जा रहे हैं। मैं और खालिद हम बात करेंगे कि किस तरह से राना अय्यूब हमेशा एक प्रोपेगेंडिस्ट की तरह काम करती हैं, और विच इज लाइक फार अवे फ्रॉम द ट्रूथ एंड फैक्ट। एंड इसी पे हम आज का एपिसोड आधारित करेंगे। सो सबसे पहले मैं सवाल खालिद आपसे करती हूँ। तो जो मेरा पहला सवाल है इसमें, विदाउट गोइंग इनटू एनी बैकग्राउंड, आई विल जस्ट डाइव इनटू इट। राणा ने यूएन में कहा कि गुजरात 2002 एक जेनोसाइड था। तो आपको क्या लगता है, आपके क्या थॉट्स हैं इस पे खालिद?
To talk about the role of Hindu nationalists, Mr. Modi's government, who was then the chief minister in the 2002 Gujarat genocide.
No, it's ironical, Amna, that genocide की definition काफी detailed, ये काफी एक सेंसिटिव चीज है जो कि यूएन ने खुद डॉक्यूमेंट की है, जिसको वर्ल्ड वाइड एक ग्लोबल स्टैंडर्ड मान के चलते हैं। तो जेनोसाइड क्या होता है आमना? जेनोसाइड होता है जब एक पर्टिकुलर कम्युनिटी, चाहे वो कोई एथनिसिटी हो, चाहे वो कोई रिलीजियस ग्रुप हो, या चाहे वो कोई कास्ट हो, सेक्ट हो, उसको इरेज किया जाए जिस जगह में वो जेनोसाइड हो। मतलब उनके कल्चरल मार्कर्स, उनकी रिलीजियस प्लेसेस, उनका वजूद वहां से मिटा दिया जाए। तो और ये वन साइडेड होता है, जो ओप्रेस ये करता है उनके यहाँ से कोई ऐसी कैजुअलिटी नहीं आती। तो ऐसी गुजरात वाज अ राइट। राइट क्या होता है? राइट में दोनों पार्टीज, वो अलग बात है कहीं पे 80% है और वहां पे एक्सट्रीमिस्ट एक दूसरे कम्युनिटी से लड़ रहे हैं और वहां से भी एक्सट्रीमिस्ट है, लेकिन राइट इज बिटवीन टू पार्टीज हु आर बोथ अटैकिंग एंड किलिंग ईच अदर, राइट? So when she uses the term genocide, this is blatantly driving a narrative, a propaganda, which is very away from the facts, and she dehumanizes the other religious identity जिसमें भी victims थे. Now, if we go for facts for which she has no concern, as per figures given by the then Union Minister of State for Home, Shri Prakash Jaiswal, who was a Congress, we're talking about a Congress government here in 2005, when these figures were asked of him. He said in the parliament that 790 Muslims and 254 Hindus were killed in the riots. These are the official figures, right? Now, rationally, if you want to look at this, the population of Gujarat Muslim population that time anywhere between 10 to 12%. So there were extremists from that section who butchered 254 Hindus. There were extremists from the Hindu section who butchered 790 Muslims. But the fact is, for parasites like Rana, for vultures like Rana, who know the fault lines exist, who know that she can milk this issue and make a career out of it, and the psychopath, sociopath she is, she couldn't give a damn, because she will easily tell her constituency कि ये figures आप इन figures पे मानते हो, मैं तो नहीं मानती इस figures को. So figures are convoluted, they're made out of thin air, it raises from 1000, 1500, 2000. आपने अमूमन ये propaganda देखा होगा, एक 2000 फिगर डाल दिया जाता है और कहता है कि उसमें सिर्फ मुस्लिम्स मारे गए, राइट? सच ये है कि 790 मुस्लिम्स थे, जो कि बहुत ट्रैजिक चीज है, लेकिन 254 हिंदूज भी थे। लेकिन क्योंकि आप उन हिंदूज को इंसान नहीं मानते, आपके एजेंडा में, आपके कम्युनल हेट में, द मेजोरिटी यू लव टू हेट, जिसकी वजह से आपके पास ये सारी फ्रीडम्स है, आप उनको डिह्यूमनाइज करते हैं, राइट? आप ये नहीं बताते कि जब वो राइट जैसी सिचुएशन आफ्टर गोधरा हुई, 61 हिंदूज एंड 40 मुस्लिम्स डाइड इन पुलिस फायरिंग, बिकॉज पुलिस उस टाइम शासन कोशिश करता है कि रुक जाए कहीं ना कहीं से ये आग। आप कॉन्टेक्स्ट नहीं बताते, बिकॉज आपके लिए एक रैशनल पेट्रियाटिक इंडियन मुस्लिम बहुत डेंजरस चीज है। आपका हमेशा मकसद यही है कि वो जितना अपनी मेजोरिटी हिंदू कम्युनिटी से कन्फ्रंटेशन में रहे, जितना वो उससे लड़े, जितना वो दूर रहे। फिर जब आपको राइटली कहते हैं कि यही तो पाकिस्तान का आइडिया, आप पाकिस्तानी है, फिर आप विक्टिम भी खेलते हो। इतनी लिबरल, ओवर द टॉप, मॉडरेट, टॉलरेंट सोसाइटी है कि वो आपको उस चीज को भी ऑब्जर्व कर लेती है, ये कह के कि चलिए ये भी इसका हक है, राइट? लेकिन आपका क्या है, एक हिंदू जो कॉन्शियस सिटीजन है इस मुल्क का, राइट, वो इस चीज के लिए लड़ता है कि बेचारे मासूम मुसलमान मर गए। एक राणा का क्या होना चाहिए कि हाँ, मासूम मुसलमान मरे एंड इट इज क्रिमिनल, इट इज ट्रैजिक, लेकिन हमारे तरफ के एक्सट्रीमिस्ट से भी मासूम हिंदू मरे तो सोसाइटी एक होती है, राइट? लेकिन ये हटा दिया जाता है कि गोधरा, वो तो इनफैक्ट दे गो टू द लेवल्स की वो कहते हैं कि गोधरा तो खुद हिंदुओं ने कराया। फिर जाके जब एक बच्चा मुनावर फारूकी बचपन से वो सुनता है, जिसको डिह्यूमनाइज कर दिया गया है, कि 15 बच्चे थे उसमें, टॉडलर्स थे, औरतें थी, और ये भी कोर्ट्स ने कन्विक्ट किया है, कुछ कांग्रेस के काउंसलर्स भी थे उसमें, मुस्लिम्स। और फिर उनको कहा जाता है कि तुम्हें पता है ये इतने इविल होते हैं कि ये ट्रेन में जा रहे थे, मॉब, वो कौन सी मॉब, कोई मुस्लिम मॉब नहीं आई, कोई नहीं जला, तो इन्होंने खुद को जला दिया। फिर जाके जब वो बच्चा बड़ा होता है मुनव्वर फारूकी, तो वो स्टैंड अप कॉमेडी करता है लिबरल एलिट एयर हेड डम सोसाइटीज में, जो हंसते हैं इस बात पे कि वो कहता है अरे हिंदू, उन्होंने तो खुद को जला दिया ना खुद को।
मैं टीवी पे देख रहा था द बर्निंग ट्रेन, तो डैड आए एंड डैड इज लाइक ये बकवास मत देखा कर, उन्होंने चैनल बंद कर दिया। एंड आई वाज लाइक क्यों ऐसा? ही इज लाइक ये गोधरा कांड का वीडियो है, न्यूज चैनल चल रहा है ये। लाइक मुझे तो लगा कोई मूवी चल रही है डायरेक्टेड बाय अमित शाह समथिंग।
उसके बावजूद यही सोसाइटी बहुत अपेरेंटली फासिस्ट है, मैं तो कहूंगा डम है, ठीक है? तो ये है, दिस इज द ट्रूथ। तो द फैक्ट दैट a tragedy happened, but which was not one-sided. Just because numbers were less from one side, that does not mean you allow your rational and human quotient to take a backseat. And you don't give a context, because anybody gives a context, then you pounce on him saying, oh, but you know what? Are you justifying the reaction? No, you're teaching the younger generation that when a small minority of 2 out of 10 in the extremist elements attack an 8 out of them in a Godra and burn them charred and to death, first of all, they are not victimized, they are goons. And then when the reaction comes, that is inevitable, because the reaction will come. Is that reaction justified? No. But in that reaction, the extremists, the tempers from both sides, killings happen. But because then you have parasites and vultures like this who know that, you know what, this is what we're going to do. And the fact is, there were Hindu criminals convicted. Who was Babu Bajrangi? Right? So this is become like that thing, 2002, you milk it as much as possible, you call it a genocide, which it is far from. And this is what she does to abuse India on every front, and she always conflates it with the country, right? So here is a Hindu hating supremacist, a careerist, who leaves no opportunity to date also, after even getting Pakistan, living, breathing, firing that idea, because the democracy allows that too. But how much will we allow this poison to be put in this country? How much? So this is my answer to her answer that 2002 was a genocide.
I would like to add a few things also. Like a lot of people, and mostly the people, have this tendency, they start looking at the people and see them their own voice. If those voices justify anything, everything in their favor, even in their not favor, in the support of their biases, and they go to the extreme where they exaggerate everything, uh, give them the label of victim. That happens a lot of time, and when that happens, So rationality is that like the community understand that they are not our friends. They are actually using us as a pawns, right? So the when people say ki Rana Ayyub is working in favor of Muslim community, people should look at it as a very objectively. The first of the thing, what I will argue about, like if she would be pro-Muslim, she would have never given a platform to the Sanjay Raut, someone like Sanjay Raut, who openly said that Muslims should not have a right to vote. So imagine एक बंदा बोल रहा है कि मुस्लिम को वोटिंग राइट ही नहीं होने चाहिए, उसके बेसिक राइट्स को खत्म करने की बात कर रहा है, जो उसको एक इंडियन सिटीजन बनाता है. एंड यू आर सो मच इनटू योर प्रिंसिपल, यू आर सो मच अबाउट, you worry so much about Indian minority society, and you are giving the platform to such a person because right now it's about your career, it's about the ideological equation. बिकॉज अब संजय राउत उस पार्टी में आ गया है या उनको सपोर्ट कर रहा है जो कि तुम्हें चाहिए. This shows deeply ki how fucked up everything is about. It's not about the principles, it's not even a loyalty to a community, it's only about her own career. So दिस थिंग मस्ट बी पॉइंटेड आउट, ताकि जो लोग बेवकूफों की तरह सोचते हैं कि ये हमारे साइड के लिए लड़ रही है, दे शुड नो वो किसी के साइड के लिए नहीं लड़ रही है, वो अपने करियर के हिसाब से चलती है. फर्स्ट थिंग. सेकेंड थिंग, जो जेनोसाइड की जो बात थी, these are like very very sensitive topic to discuss, talk about, because sometimes what human feels in their emotions, ki when you're discussing it, you are either rationalizing it, justifying it, or downplaying it. But the if you are really really if you're really really concerned about the society, you want to see them every human tragedy from very objective and rationality, because that's how we will find the solution. So it's about that, that it comes from that concern. And imagine when you put the fact that the Kashmir, Kashmiri Hindus are not even allowed to live in a Kashmir anymore, and that is not even classified as a genocide in UN dictionary. So when you go by the definition, that is not even genocide by the dictionary and by the definition of the UN. And you just then saying ki, and then you call it propaganda. Figure, reality, everything is in front of you. एवरीडे किलिंग आज भी होती है, आज भी वहां कश्मीरी पंडितों की किलिंग होती है, आज भी वो जाके बस नहीं सकते, बट वो प्रोपेगेंडा है. सो व्हेन दिस काइंड ऑफ वन साइडेड जो नरेटिव है एंड एक्सट्रीम करके, इवन व्हेन शी टीचेस दिस टू मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी, वो मुसलमानों की इंसानियत छीन लेती है, क्योंकि उनके अंदर इंसानियत ही नहीं बचती कि वो दूसरों के दर्द को समझ सके, बिकॉज एवरीथिंग अबाउट देम इज propaganda, and everything is about you is like exaggerated reality. So that I wanted to add on. सेकेंड क्वेश्चन खालिद, जो मैं आपसे पूछूंगी वो है कि राणा ने कहा कि इंडिया के 20 करोड़ मुस्लिम जो है वो तो सबके सब अंडर ऑपरेशन है, एंड और लोअर कास्ट हिंदू भी. सो आपको क्या लगता है खालिद इसके बारे में?
There is a sustained attack on the 200 million Muslim minorities on the lower caste in India systematically.
This is the Pakistan thought, right? What did Jinnah say? What did all the votaries of two nation theory say? We can't stay with these Hindus, right? So imagine, even after the country got broken into 3 pieces, even after Hindus became a minority and on the verge of being cleansed from these lands, you still have the democracy is so open that someone who still champions the thought of Pakistan, where constantly she tells them you are under oppression. Who else tells that to Indian Muslims? The state of Pakistan, right? That you are under oppression. I mean, it's laughable because, amongst the top 5 most safe, secular, tolerant, free countries for Muslims, India is one of them. India, UAE, Turkey, Tunisia, the role model countries where people of every sect, there is no sect in Islam which does not exist in India. There is no sect of Islam which is not celebrated in India. India has the second highest number of mosques in the world, even though it's a Hindu majority, 80% population, right? A superstar like Shah Rukh Khan, his mazhab is not seen. A Pathan makes 1,000 crores or 30 years, he's ruling the hearts and minds of people. In a free society, it is not that he's caught them by their neck. It's because they love him. For him, it doesn't matter. Any attack on his religious identity, they see it as his. It is not just him, it is people across the spectrum. It is the Pathan brothers from that very Gujarat. It is a Mohammad Shami today when he plays for Gujarat Titans in that Narendra Modi stadium. They want to own him and they love him. It's that Mohammad Siraj who comes from a rickshaw driver, was his father. It's an Abdul Samad. It's a, so many others from JNK, right? There is no sector in India. There is no compulsion of faith. People, Muslims here don't get tortured whether they're praying, whether they're not praying, what sect they're following, what sect they're not following, what are their life choices, who they get married to, what are they wearing, right? And when you compare that to any other country, you can easily, based on facts and reality, say it is right up there. It gives competition to Turkey and UAE as well, right? So when you say all this, and laughable when you say lower caste, hello, who is the president of India right now? Shri Draupadi Murmu ji, she is from a tribal community. Who is the prime minister? Of course, I know she doesn't consider him as prime minister. She maybe feels her prime minister Shehbaz Sharif, and rightly so. By conviction, she's a Indian. By citizenship, by conviction, she's a Pakistani. By citizenship, she's an Indian, and that's our unfortunate thing. It is an OBC prime minister. Right? So everything that you speak is the narrative of Pakistan state. Everything that you speak is against the Hindu majority. Everything that you speak, you put the Muslim in victimhood. So why shouldn't we call you a Pakistani by conviction and an Indian by citizenship? That is who you are. And yet it is our very democracy who will challenge you on ideas. You cannot dare do this anywhere. Neither can you do it in China, neither can you do it in Pakistan. Right? So we have our flaws. We do have, tendencies amongst the majority community extremists, but so do we have extremists in every community, because that is how liberal and open and, tolerant the society is, and it's a battle of ideas. So, but what we want to tell her from this stage that we are going to take her on, because as Indian patriots, as believing Muslims who too follow the same religion, and as she says, the biggest test of faith is loving your own country. So Rana, yes, we do love India. We love it passionately. We love the secular Hindu majority. You are going to find us, because this poison has to stop. You travel economic class in Qatar, in business class in Qatar Airways, you are staying outside so much, but yet you feed poison. Who are your best friends? Who are those editors who gave you all the platforms? I know they too are deracinated Hindus who hate the country and are communists. Together you guys come and say that, this deracinated Hindu and this Muslim hating Indian are the secular, but you're not. So till our last breath, the challenge is now started, because this is now going too far, where you don't give this country its due. And you are a living example of Pakistan idea being said every day here, where you write for Washington Post, you say capitalism is bad here, Ambani, you write for Washington Post, that's owned by Jeff Bezos. Right? Exactly. Our kids will be Mohammad Siraj, our kids will be Nikhat Zareen, Queen. You won't learn anything from her though. She's the boxing champion. Our kids will be the Premjis, Kalams, everybody, not you, Rana.
Exactly. I share your feeling. Also, when I just want to add one thing, when it's about the lower caste, she will never talk about the casteism within the Muslim society, where she's an elite and an ashraf.
Just one more thing. I want us to play this video of Dr. Anand Ranganathan based on facts on what Muslims have got in the last 9 years.
Here is the hard data. Minorities before 2014, 20,000 skilled trained, 5% with government jobs, 3 crore scholarships, 70% girls' school dropout rate. Minorities after 2014, 2 million skilled trained, 10% with government jobs, 5 crore scholarships, free UPSC coaching, 30% girls' school dropout. In fact, Modi has given scholarships to more Muslims than Manmohan Singh did. Has Modi reduced AMU funding? No, in fact, he has increased it, including a 90 crore topping up, while our Muslim population is 14.2%. As many as 31.3% of homes under the Awas Yojana, 33% of funds under Kisan Samman Nidhi, and 36% beneficiaries under Mudra Yojana have been Muslims. Pradhan Mantri Shadi Shagun scheme, exclusively for Muslim girls who complete their graduation before marriage. They will get rupees 51,000, housing, skilling, scholarships, government jobs. No other Prime Minister has comparatively done more for Muslims than Modi. On the other hand, Let us look at the condition of Muslims in a state that has never been ruled by the BJP and whose present and past chief ministers have gone out of their way to appease Muslims. Bengal. In Bengal, Muslims are poorer than any other community, with their population growing twice the rate of Hindus. According to the periodic labor force survey, only 13% Bengali Muslims have regular salaried jobs. Figure for India is 22.1%. 35% Bengali Muslims work as casual laborers. Figure for India is 24%. Muslims in Bengal earn 27 to 40% lower than Muslims in the rest of India. Muslims make up 30% of Bengal population, but only 7% of all university and college teachers in Bengal are Muslims. And if you discount madrasas, the figure is even more minuscule. Literacy rate for Muslims is 7% lower than the Bengal state average. This, after 40 years of non-BJP rule, after 40 years of rule by those who came to work for them.
So, जो मेरा थर्ड क्वेश्चन है खालिद, वो ये है कि राणा ने कहा कि प्रेस के फ्रीडम पे अटैक हो रहा है, मतलब बहुत ज्यादा ही अटैक है.
Indian state treating its journalists as terrorists, especially with the raids on various media houses. So in that situation, as a journalist who herself is a critic of the government, who is a woman and a Muslim, I think it has never been a more difficult time to be a journalist who is talking about the oppressed, the marginalized, the persecuted in India.
तो इस पे आपके क्या थॉट्स हैं?
यार आपने वो देखा 2-3 दिन पहले एक और कुछ अब तो मतलब Indians have become so self-assured कि they were laughing at it. They placed us behind Afghanistan. I was like, you know.
I mean, this laugh should be the answer. I mean, what we supposed to do?
They placed us behind Iran also, by the way.
Whoa.
Yeah. So, well, I think we just want viewers to see what Dr. Professor Salvatore Bobinus said on our very show on these flawed methodologies. So that's the answer to Rana on that.
More journalists are killed in India than in any other country outside China.
Exactly. Yeah.
Fact. More people have black hair in India than in any country outside China. Fact. More people have noses, lips, and teeth than any country outside. Fact. It's an irrelevant fact. You obviously have to adjust for population. Adjusting for population in India, in the last 10 years, there have been 3.5 violent journalist deaths per billion people. Rest of world, 6.3 billion. 6.3 per billion. In other words, journalists are much safer, about twice as safe in India as in rest of world. And keep in mind that India is a poor country with multiple internal insurgencies, with all of these problems that should lead India to being a violent place for journalists. In fact, journalists are safer than in India than in rest of world, dramatically safer, despite it being such a poor country. That should be a good news message for India. Now, I don't so much fault the NGO that puts out the report, because look, NGOs raise money on raising the alarm, so they put out alarming statistics: number of journalists killed in Uttar Pradesh, number of journalists killed in India. And let's face it, we want journalist deaths to be managed down to zero. We don't want anyone to be killed when reporting the news.
Absolutely.
But organizations that pick this up, whether it's news editors or academics or VDEM, which highlighted these statistics in its report, have an obligation to be skeptical. Right? We should always be skeptical. I mean, I'm always very skeptical. People send me stuff every day. Salvatore, what about this thing? And it's like, you know what? We exercise some skepticism. Just the most rudimentary skepticism would have edited out this figure, or would have turned it around into evidence of a benign environment for journalists in India. It's just unconscionable that this statistic continues to be reported as evidence that journalists and journalism are under threat in India. I mean, there are threats to journalism everywhere, but the threats probably have a lot more to do with low pay in India than to do with actual threats of physical violence.
मेरा नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन खालिद ये है कि उन्होंने कहा कि उन पे केसेस चल रहे हैं मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग के. So she was projecting कि state is after her, basically.
I have multiple charges against me. Somebody, Ms. Power was speaking about legal warfare. So I have money laundering, tax evasion, defamation, a recent criminal defamation against me.
तो फैक्ट सिंपल है, शी स्टार्टेड दिस क्राउड फंडिंग, जो कि ये सारे ढोंगी, करियरिस्ट, प्रोपेगेंडिस्ट, शेमलेस, साइकोपैथ, सोशियोपैथ्स हु आर रेडी टू सेल द कंट्री फॉर अ फ्यू डॉलर्स करते हैं। तो स्टार्टिंग 2020 राणा ने कहा मुझे बहुत दर्द हो रहा है, मैं कोविड विक्टिम्स के लिए, जो कि अपने आप के लिए रेज करूंगी अमाउंट। तो 2.75 करोड़ कीटो के थ्रू उन्होंने रेज की। तो अब अजीब सी बात यह है कि हम ना, अगर आप मान लो आप अगर रेज कर रहे हो, तो आप क्या अपने फादर और मदर के अकाउंट में वो पैसे डाल दोगे? अपनी बहनों के अकाउंट में वो पैसे डाल दोगे? नहीं डालोगे ना, इट्स नॉट योर मनी, राइट? फिर जब आप थोड़ा टेंस्ड होते हो ना, दिस इज वेरी आयरॉनिकल एंड आई वांट द व्यूअर्स टू नो दिस, she says she's an open critic of the current government. Oh my god, कितना करेज है भाई, बिकॉज और तो कोई है नहीं, 100 पार्टीज इंडिया में, बाकी को कोई कुछ बोलता नहीं, बिकॉज फिर fascism. लेकिन राणा जी को ये नहीं क्यों नहीं बताती यूएन में या दुनिया को कि उसने पीएम केयर्स फंड में क्यों डाले पैसे? Why do you think she put money in PM cares fund?
True.
Why? सीएम फंड में भी डाले।
आई थिंक सीएम फंड में भी डाले थे उसने।
हाँ, क्यों डाले? मतलब शी इज
Yeah.
तो ओपन क्रिटिक ना, तो मोदी इज फैसिस्ट, मोदी इज लाइक इज गोइंग टू डू अ जेनोसाइड, व्हिच
Maybe in her head she would be bribing.
right? So she needs to tell us all that money that went into the accounts of her family members. Why did she put there? And there are clear FCRA foreign, currency violations because she didn't have the permission. But because you know what, a Muslim like her cannot now even do a fraud in India. This is oppression. But she won't let all this silence her. Acha, she didn't have a PAN card, by the way. That's what she said. These are her own words.
Wow.
Yeah.
Imagine being such a responsible citizen of India that you don't have a PAN card, right?
Exactly.
तो वो आईटीआर नहीं भरती है मैडम जी, इतना पैसे नहीं कमाती उसको टैक्स देना पड़े।
अब खैर
I
क्या
mean,
ही बताए, मतलब आप देखिए, मैं फिगर्स पढ़ूंगा, इफत शेख के अकाउंट में, सिस्टर के अकाउंट में 37 lakhs, फिर कुछ 16 lakhs मोहम्मद अयूब वाकिफ के अकाउंट में, तो ये सब अकाउंट में ट्रांसफर हुआ था, बिकॉज शी बिलीव्स चैरिटी बिगिंस एट होम।
by the way, I actually went through the entire episode. I don't remember मुझे आर्टिकल लिखना था, नहीं, आई डोंट रिमेम्बर। सो बेसिकली काफी अच्छा टेक्निकल एक्सक्यूज लेकर के आई थी कि हॉस्पिटल में और कहीं पे पैसे देने थे, तो आई डिडंट नो हाउ टू ट्रांसफर, दैट्स व्हाई आई पुट दोज मनी, क्योंकि मुझे वो बाद में देने थे तो कहीं और खर्च ना हो जाए, ब्ला ब्ला। सो आई डिड एफडी। हाँ, मतलब उसने पैसे ट्रांसफर नहीं किए थे, एफडी किए थे, तो एफडी करके रख दिया ताकि वो पैसे खर्च ना हो जाए, सो आई कैन लेटर ऑन ट्रांसफर इट टू द हॉस्पिटल एंड ऑल दिस स्टफ। प्लस ये जो एफसीआरए का जो है, जो सबको पता है, लाइक आई वॉज वर्किंग फॉर अ थिंक टैंक, इट्स अ न्यू थिंक टैंक, एंड वी ऑल्सो न्यू दैट वी कैन नॉट टेक एनी मनी ग्रांटेड बाय द फॉरेन sources until unless we clear the FCRA. And someone who is a so renowned journalist working in this industry for so long doesn't know this basic rule does not make any sense, doesn't make any sense to me. And वो FIR हुआ तब फॉरेन फंडिंग से जितने पैसे आए थे वो वापस कर दिए, तो टेक्निकली शी, मतलब शी वाज सेव्ड, क्योंकि जिसने FIR किया था वो भी बेवकूफ था, उसने बहुत जल्दी कर दिया। वो पैसे लेके खर्च करती, उसके बाद अगर FIR हुआ होता तो तब वो फंसती। देन शी रियलाइज कि ओके ओके फक, इसको वापस करो, हमने नहीं कहा था फॉरेन फंडिंग के लिए, ब्ला ब्ला। सो टेक्निकली शी सेव्ड हरसेल्फ, और अभी भी आई थिंक केस तो जा ही रहा है, चल ही रहा है, लेट्स सी हाउ इट गोज।
आयरॉनिकल नो, ये जो इनकी सारी लॉबी है कम्युनिस्ट इस्लामिस्ट की, अरुंधति रॉय, सिद्धार्थ वरदराजन जो वायर के एडिटर है, राणा स्वरा भास्कर, ये सब क्या जहर भरते हैं, जैसे टेरर ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस, और इनका फंडा सेम ही है। आप एक आम नागरिक, खासकर मुस्लिम्स, बिकॉज आप उनको वेपनाइज करके यू वांट टू मेक देम द एलाय एंड कॉन्स्टेंटली कीप देम द विक्टिम, तो आप उनको कहते हो कि यहाँ के कोच तो हॉलो हो गए, कोच पे कुछ नहीं किया, आप कुछ नहीं। लेकिन आप दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट जाते हो, बेस्ट लॉयर्स ले आते हो, जुबैर को सुप्रीम कोर्ट में टॉप मिलता है, बिकॉज सेम कार्टेल है ना, सेम माफिया है, और वो आपको बेल दे देता है, तब यहाँ के कोच ठीक है। और जब वो इतनी अट्रोशियस जजमेंट देते हैं, बाय मी लॉर्ड्स, मेरे अगेंस्ट कंटेम्प्ट नहीं करना, कि ये 12 करोड़ अमाउंट ही क्या है, तो तब ये नहीं कहते कि इनको यार देखो, तो आप देखिए, इट्स अ वेरी डेंजरस थिंग। ये पहले तो एक इंसान को कंप्लीटली होपलेस करते हैं, एंड इट्स वेरी सिमिलर टू अ टेरर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन। व्हाट इज द टेरर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन आइडियोलॉग टेल द गाय? एवरीथिंग इज रॉन्ग whatever's happening is against you. Whatever is, this whole system is against you. This whole society is against you. Now you need to, what are you going to believe in? Courts, democracy, कुछ नहीं है यहाँ. बट खुद सबसे पॉलिटिकल वहां के जो टॉप बंदे हैं उनके साथ फाइन डाइन करके और बेस्ट लेके बहुत सिमिलर है एंड हम भी कुछ 18-19 साल तक शिकार थे इनके. हमको लगता था वायर कैरावान ये तो ट्रुथ टू पावर स्पीक करते हैं, बट देखा तो ये कम्युनिस्ट इस्लामिस्ट ब्रेक इंडिया फोर्सेस हैं और इनको कोई हमदर्दी नहीं है मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी. और इसमें बहुत सारे ये भी है, कुछ आइडियोलॉजिकली ड्रिवन है लेकिन बहुत सारे अपने करियर्स के लिए, जैसे राना ने ढूंढ लिया. बट बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है बिकॉज बहुत अपॉर्चुनिटीज है हर कम्युनिटी के लोगों के लिए. और ऐसा कुछ स्पेशल नहीं है सेकंड लार्जेस्ट कम्युनिटी के हमेशा आप उसी की बात करो. ऐसा थोड़ी हम क्रिश्चियन से पारसीज और तो उससे भी एक विक्टिमहुड कॉम्प्लेक्स से मुस्लिम्स को निकलना है. तो बट वी नो द फोर्सेस वी आर टेकिंग ऑन, बट इट्स वर्थ इट फॉर इंडिया.
Exactly. And nobody can be concerned about the human life and talk about the separatism and all. We know what happened when the India was partitioned in 1947. Right. How many innocent lives we have lost.
Rana, I want to turn to you. You're a prominent journalist. You've done such investigative work yourself. In your book, The Gujarat Files, about the events surrounding the 2002 riots.
Gujarat Files एक अजीब चीज है, सेल्फ पब्लिश्ड बुक है राना की, जिसमें उसने कहा कि मेरे पास बहुत सारे टेप्स है. अब मजे की बात पता है क्या है? जो उनका प्रो फ्रेंडली मीडिया है, कतार बेस्ड, कतार गवर्नमेंट फंडेड, तालिबान के एलाई अल जजीरा जो असली ट्रुथ देता है, which has its own ideological games against India, right? उसमें मेहदी हसन का एक शो है जहां मेहदी हसन और सदानंद दुमे अगेन ये लेफ्टिस्ट थॉट रखते हैं. तो सदानंद दुमे एलाई है राना, वो हम वीडियो प्ले करेंगे इसके बाद. उसको कह रहा है कि ठीक है राना क्या प्रॉब्लम? बोला मेरे पास टेप्स है, बहुत सारे टेप्स है. बोला दिखाओ फिर, वेयर आर द टेप्स? बोला मैंने सबको बोला, वो पब्लिश करने को तैयार नहीं है. उस शो तक में वो बताती नहीं है कि वो टेप्स है कहां. आज तक किसी के बाप ने वो टेप्स नहीं देखे. ठीक है, तो और
is not just inefficient as chief minister during the Gujarat riot, but what comes out of this book is that Narendra Modi was complicit for his role in the Gujarat riots and the fake encounters.
Okay, Sadanand, you've read the book. Do you agree? Do you believe the evidence is there? Does it bother you?
I question the credibility of Rana, partly because of the method.
Even if she's got tapes, which she's willing to hand over to the police.
Which she has not released.
Okay.
She still hasn't released them. So what we have is a transcripts of
let me remind you, Sadanan, let me remind
interviews where the tapes have not been released. And actually that's a great question. I would love her to release
Rana,
them.
Do you want to respond?
Sadanan, I think you are mistaken here. I mean, when you're talking about sting investigation not being credible enough, let me tell you that one of the convictions in the Gujarat riots happened because of a sting operation that was conducted in 2007 by the same organization that I used to work with. And the judge who gave the verdict cited tapes, heavily
Rana?
From the sting operation.
Rana, why don't you do the simple thing and put the tapes up on a website? What is stopping you from doing that? Isn't that a pretty obvious thing to do?
I have approached every possible news channel in this country, every possible news publication, every possible website in the last 5 years to publish these tapes.
एक चीज you have to understand, the enemy of fighting is shameless, ruthless. They don't care. They lie on a gigantic scale. They send troll armies against you. They cover you behind the facade of they are fighting a powerful system. Rather, they are more powerful because pan-nationalistic ideologies and anti-national forces sitting out, then having ideological allies within, it makes for a much more powerful, because it's a single nation fighting anything, and anyways we are very divided in the nationalistic camp. So nobody knows where those things are. Who buys the book? No one knows till now, right? Now when the Supreme Court was told, somebody had petitioned कि आप ये book ले लीजिए, Gujarat Files, which is worth toilet paper, तो उन्होंने कहा कि ये बुक में आपको बहुत कुछ मिलेगा. I quote this Honorable Supreme Court of India. The book is of no utility. It's based upon surmises, conjectures, and suppositions, and has no evidentiary value. The opinion of a person is not in the realm of evidence. This is Gujarat Files, which naive, stupid foreigners in UN introduce her saying her Gujarat Files.
True.
I want to add one more thing. Because her whole game is this. It's a large country, still by and large poor. It is now obviously coming out of those shackles. It's growing, it's prospering, fifth largest economy. Everyone in their own way across communities are prospering. There are celebrities across religion. Her game is simple, right? And that of a mafia. When a Hindu is the victim of a Muslim extremist, ignore, it doesn't happen. If it becomes more relevant, justify it as a reaction. When it's ulta, then when it's a Hindu against a Muslim, then shame them and, then demonize the entire community. This is her journalism. There was a story of a nun long time back who was raped in West Bengal. Even before the police could confirm the chain of events, she said it's a Hindu who did it. Later, it was realized it was an illegal Bangladeshi Muslim. Right. Not only that, in Uttar Pradesh also she had claimed, Muslim man had been assaulted by Hindus and it was a inter-fight. So you have to understand these vultures are very clear. There are fault lines to, to work on in India, but they know that how that fault lines can be highlighted. All this behind the facade of, saying you're fighting this brute majority and, always be scared of them. And that falls right into the idea of Pakistan. You have to understand, it's very clear. So the forces you're fighting might, to their idiot supporters, feel like we are the underdogs, but actually the nationalists are the underdogs against them, because you have a communist China, even Islamic Republic of Pakistan, you have, communist dictatorships across the world, you have all these forces which wouldn't want India to do well. And then you have a Hindu ally of Rana in Siddharth Varadrajan and Pratik Sinha who come together. So then it becomes even more perception wise. Dekho, ye to Hindu and Musliman lad rahe hain for the soul of India. So,
brilliantly explained, Khalid, once again. So the last question is that कि अतीक को उन्होंने बोला कि lawmaker in UN. So how smartly she played, we can see that.
Technical खेल गई बीबी.
बहुत मस्त वाला. So your opinion on that?
3 weeks ago in India, a lawmaker was shot dead live on camera.
देखिए, but like seriously, I'm a big advocate of democracy, and democracy may you will have voices and propagandists like Rana, so that comes with the territory, right? Imagine me telling you that don't look at Babu Bajrangi as the man who butchered Muslim women and children in Gujarat. Look at him as this loving man, which he is for his family. Look at him as this social worker before he committed all this. Technically, I'm also correct, no? He's also someone's father. He's also someone's child. He's also something for the community. He's also, before the riots, a man who was apparently fighting for Hindu rights. Right? So technically, I'm also correct. Now, the question her Muslim fan base should answer is that would they be okay with it? But you don't need to look at it from the prism of religion. You need to look at it from the prism of humanity. She's talking about democracy, and it's so ironical. This gangster, criminal, mafia, who shouldn't be a role model for anyone. His own children, I mean, he brought them to the world of crime. Our religion doesn't teach us that, you're supposed to glorify criminals like Ati. Now, she talked about democracy. Now, this is very interesting. And, they ally with these lower castes. So, like this so-called alliance to just pit the society, right? Exploit the fault lines in the majority community. Now, what's ironical is that when her dreaded gangster's brother, and once the gangster became a lawmaker, right? He left the seat, right? जो इलाहाबाद वेस्ट की MLA सीट वो जीतते थे बहुत दहशत से और सपोर्ट से, तो उसके छोटे भाई अतीक आए, right? To fight that seat. That time मायावती जी की पार्टी ने BSP में राजू पाल जी को कैंडिडेचर दिया. कहते हैं कि उस टाइम अब ये MP बन गए थे. That is again a statement on the screwed up state of our democracy, and not democracy, law and order, and society की कौन हिंदू गैंगस्टर मुस्लिम गैंगस्टर सब पहुंच जाते हैं रेपिस्ट के. तो खैर I'm deviating. So Raju Pal decided कि I will now contest against Atik. अतीक नहीं, अतीक के भाई आतिफ जो भी. अब अतीक पहुंच गए थे MP, है ना? So डेमोक्रेसी की बात कर रहे हैं. बर्दाश्त नहीं हुआ गैंगस्टर के छोटे भाई को कि यार कोई मतलब राजू पाल आएगा और मेरे से कंटेस्ट करेगा तो हार जाएगा. राजू पाल जीता, तो भाइयों ने क्या किया? They shot him, they killed him, they pumped 20 bullets of a candidate from a lower caste party whose rise has been heroic. So, and this is for so that or her thing. They didn't stop there. Then there was a Gava witness, Umesh Pal, who decided to be the brave guy and say, I am the witness. I will not cow down. Right? Then they killed him also. Right? And of course, everyone knows that tragic, heartbreaking incident where young madrasa girls were, they accused Atik's men of raping them. Where they come for religious education, where these, and this is the person you're defending because you're so consumed by your self-narcissist, grandiose, stupid, mad image. I mean, shame on you. Those girls, how are you letting them down? Even if you're not, बाकी कौम तो you hate. अपनी कौम के लिए तो वफा, like इसमें कौम की भी बात नहीं है. It's disgusting. I mean, those are girls. They could have been of any denomination. So yeah, lawmaker.
Exactly. The lawmaker. And if even we talk about the technical stuff, technically it was not extrajudicial killing, right?
Exactly.
Technically, but she won't tell that. So slipping into the fascist, I don't know how to she complaining that. Problem तो तब ही सबसे ज्यादा जब इस तरह के लोग आते थे चुन करके लॉ मेकर बन जाते थे. This should be our fight. This kind of people should not be there anymore. And we have to fight against it regardless the religion or anything or caste or anything. Also, one interesting fact I was reading, maybe ये जो थे, ये दोनों भाई थे, शायद they were the one, जब सपा ने मायावती पर अटैक किया था, तो they were the one to attack on मायावती as well. I think I read somewhere, but I have to reconfirm that. So imagine that. And the same breath में ये बात करेगी कि जो लोअर कास्ट हिंदू है हमें उनकी कितनी परवाह है. I don't think इसको किसी की भी परवाह है.
नहीं, sociopath है. उसको she thinks only about herself.
Yeah, not about community. I mean, I don't know how she claims that she is very concerned about the community. I don't think so. Also, you can see जब वो geopolitics में भी जब उसके tweet होते हैं, तो जहाँ से पैसा आ रहा है उसके हिसाब से ही होते हैं. For certain Muslim majority countries she will attack, and certain Muslim majority countries she won't. It shows how much she is about her career. So
I have a term from there. There is cold-blooded murderers, serial murderers. There are cold-blooded careerists in journalists. There are a lot of journalists to be admired, but there are cold-blooded careerists in journalists who are ethically more tainted than pimps.
तो ठीक है, इसी के साथ आई थिंक जो भी हमें कहना था एज ए पैट्रियोटिक इंडियन मुस्लिम हमने बोल दिया, हमने कह दिया. एंड नाउ इट्स अप टू यू गाइस टू डिसाइड टू लिसन अस विथ योर open mindedness, and even if you don't agree entirely with us, you can just go and check the fact and just question everything. Just don't go by the statement. If someone is a very famous journalist and she's just saying somewhere on a big platform, you don't need to just follow it blindly, and check for yourself.